Zap-A-Gap for permanence. The other thing is, Zap-A-Gap is not the only game in town. I mean, I have some Gorilla Glue here somewhere. But also, a lot of guys use Sally Hansen Hard as Nails, which is excellent as well. But you just want a fly that's going to have a degree of permanence to it. And because you notice this lays flat, you could wrap it pretty easily. And it wraps without building up a tremendous amount of bulk. You want to make sure that you leave enough room for all the materials, and also that you don't use an overly abundant amount of materials, because if you do, you won't be able to slide the head on. So what I do periodically is take the and these are small fish skulls, and what I'll do is make sure that as I start with my materials, I'll periodically slide this over to make sure I'm still able to get it on there. Okay, so you'll see me do that a couple of times. Okay, so as I was stating, this fly is going to invert. All right, so what I'm going to do first is take a little bit of marabou. And I'm just going to use one marabou plume, and I don't necessarily want it to be extremely full. I don't want it that big. And I can walk my fingers down. I'm going to want that about 1.5 times the length of the hook. Okay? And if you choose to, you can wet that, because it's a lot easier to tie in at that point. The other thing with marabou is you can twist it and get it tight like I did with the deer here. Take it off the hide to give you an easier cut off. Build up a little thread foundation over that. For the gills, I'm going to use some dyed red rabbit strip. But you can also use any red dubbing that you just tease out and make sure you have a tie-in point. And I'm going to take a few of these longer fibers out, just to kind of give them a little bit more of an even approach. And all I want to do is simulate gills. Okay.
But you're tying it on the top, right?
I'm tying it on the top because it's going to be on the bottom. Okay. My Dynaking does have, all that I have to do is pull this up to have it be rotary, but I'll just turn this over. Okay. Where'd that fly go? Okay. All right. What I'm going to do here is go ahead and lay in some olive marabou and 2 of the olive dyed grizzly saddles, and bird fur, and then I'll top it with peacock herl, and then that's it. Okay. Yeah, I bet they would, I bet they'd eat that. Okay. So what I'll do here is grab a decent, that's not, grab a decent, that's not,
Now that he said all that.
He said all that, and look at it again.
okay. And again, I don't want a tremendous amount, but I do want it to be flexible.
You're taking another look at this, man.
Okay. And I'm going to have that marabou at or a little bit longer
Then the white.
than the white, yeah. Okay. Now, at this point, again, you always want to check,
See if you got enough room.
okay, and I do, okay? All right, at this point, I'm going to take a little Flashabou. And you know, if you're so inclined, you could do this, you could do that off of the tie-in point back by the tail if you want to just have a little bit going back. But I'll do this the full length. And again, it's your thumb, it's your thumb and your index finger grabbing the material, then folding it over so that you can grab it with your middle finger, okay? And sliding it from the bottom over the eye and walking it back down, okay? And then you grab all those at once, and again,
Stagger again.
stagger the cuts. Okay. From that point, what I'm going to do is take a little bit of bird fur. This is whiting bird fur, and you'll have a number of different textures. I mean, that almost looks like schlappen right there, okay? But this almost looks like heron, you know, the fibers. I'll just take one that's kind of in between. I don't want necessarily more than one. And I'm just going to take that, stroke it down, and I just want that over the top, a little bit longer than that olive marabou wing. Okay? You see that?
Yep.
Okay. Let's do that. Okay?
So that strip is more feathery than the marabou.
Not,
more of
it's not as
It's not as fluffy.
wispy, no.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And then the reason I use these Wapsi saddle patches is quite simply because they're firm. You know, they're not overly long, and just dependent on, you know, what I'm looking for in a particular pattern, I can choose exactly what I want, because there are varying sizes. So what I'm going to do is choose two feathers that are approximately the same, okay? And if I hold them together, well, they're approximately the same. All right, and I don't, yeah, take my word for it. And what I want to do is lay them in on both sides. All right, so I'm going to do my side first. All right, and I'm going to have that come down on my side. I'll tilt my vise slightly so that I can get this just shy of the end of the marabou, okay? And I'm gonna hold that with my thumb, if you can see that down, okay? And I'm gonna take a couple of soft turns, okay? And I'll turn this around, you see?
Yeah.
Okay? All right, so that's one lateral bar. Then I'll just tilt this slightly so I can see the other side. And I'll lay that in, trying to mirror what I did on the other side, okay?
Match the other side.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And I'll seat that with a couple
Well, that
of
changes
wraps.
the entire appearance of that fly
Sure.
from the profile of it.
Sure. Okay? And now I'll take a few additional wraps.
Nice.
Cut off my excess. I'm a retired educator, so we used to call this checking for understanding. Yeah, I got it. Okay. Going to build up a good thread base because I have the room to do so. Okay. I'm going to top it with a few strands of peacock herl.
That's gonna be covered though, isn't it? By the head of
The butts will, yeah.
okay.
Okay, and what I'm going to do is, I have a couple that are shorter. I'll just go a little longer and break those off. So now they're staggered as well, okay? And this is going to be the longest portion of the fly. It's a complete veil or topping, okay? So you see, that's going to go longer. Okay.
Once you had everything together, you could whip these.
So the purpose of the peacock is to give it a little bit more light reflection?
The purpose of the peacock is to give it a dark back.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to whip finish that off.
I think that's the first time I've seen peacock herl used in a streamer method rather than wrapped. That's why I thought you were gonna just.
Actually, a lot of the traditional Eastern streamer patterns,
Used a
like
lot.
for instance, a gray ghost streamer,
Yeah.
a lot of the landlocked salmon streamer patterns, the majority of them will have it. James and I went to an estate sale a few months back, and I didn't bring it, I should have. I wound up picking up peacock herl, the strung peacock herl, that's easily, with 12 inches long,
Dead guys.
at least. Yeah. Okay, now, again, I'm going to invert this so that I make sure the majority of the weight is on the underside. Okay? And before I put this on, I'm going to make sure that it fits very securely, okay?
You're gonna glue it, aren't you?
Yeah, yep. And what I'm going to do is take a little bit of Gorilla Glue. It's kind of Gorilla Super Glue. But I could also use Zap-A-Gap if I was so inclined.
Any anaerobic.
Hmm?
Any of the anaerobic.
Yeah, yeah.
Just use some glue.
Yeah.
It'll get the job done.
It'll get, yeah. And then this is a scrubby
Wood filler.
that's stuffed inside of an old 35 millimeter film cartridge with an old needle in a dowel. And I probably used this for 20 years now, and it cleans this, because what I want to do is I want to spread this a little bit, because it's not going to dry until I put something over it. And then I can go in here and
What do you
it'll,
have in the cartridge?
it's just a scrubby little, you know,
Oh,
little
Brillo.
copper, like a Brillo pad, you know?
Well,
Yeah. Okay, and I'm going to slide this over. I'm going to make sure that I push this down, okay, because I want to make sure that
with the glue.
that the majority of the weight is down, okay? All right,